Somewhere between the Babylonian star lists and the app on your phone, we lost something. Not a technique, not a table. We lost the assumption that the sky is a machine with an operating manual. Tonight we rebuild that manual from the ground up. Not the astrology of sun signs and weekly horoscopes. The astrology of mirror axes, neural nets of lunar mansions, and planets that behave like state machines. This is the second sky. And it has been waiting for you. Welcome to Celestial Protocols. I am Zuri Adaze, and this is episode 2, The Mirror and the Machine. My guest tonight is Dr. Amani Okoye, an astrologer and systems researcher who spent the last decade reverse engineering the ancient predictive engines and rebuilding them as modern protocols. Amani, welcome.
Thank you, Zuri. It is wonderful to be here. And I love that phrase, the second sky. Because the first sky was the one people looked at. The second sky is the one people model. Every culture built one. Babylon, Egypt, India, Greece, China. Different symbols, same engineering problem. How do you compress the chaos of lived experience into a repeatable system? And the answer they all found, independently, was the same. 12 sectors, planetary cycles, a timing layer, and a set of rules for reading the whole thing. Convergence, across cultures that never spoke to each other. That convergence is the strongest evidence we have that the architecture is real.
Let us start with something I have never heard anywhere else. You call it the mirror axis. Explain it like I have never seen a chart.
Draw any birth chart and draw a vertical line through the ascendant and descendant. What you get is a mirror. Every house has a twin across that axis. The first and the seventh. The second and the eighth. The third and the ninth. The fourth and the 10th. The 5th and the 11th. The 6th and the 12th. Now here is the original move. Stop reading them as opposites. Read them as one function that has been split across the axis. The first house is not the enemy of the 7th. They are two terminals of the same circuit. Self and other are one system measured twice. Let me give you a concrete case. A client with the moon in the first house and Saturn in the 7th. Traditional reading, she is emotionally intense and she attracts heavy partners. Mirror reading, her selfhood is wired to external structure. Her moon does not just feel, it needs the Saturn contact to feel real. So the relationship work is not about choosing better partners. It is about her first house learning to hold its own gravity. Same chart, two completely different interventions.
So when traditional astrology says the 7th house is the house of partnership, you are saying that is only half the sentence.
Exactly half. The full sentence is, the 7th house is where your first house identity externalizes itself. Whatever planet rules your 7th house is the algorithm your self uses to recruit its mirror. Money is the same story. The second house is what you value. The 8th house is what the world values in you, and where that value gets transformed. One function, two terminals. When a client tells me their relationship keeps failing, I do not look at Venus alone. I look at the axis. What is the first house trying to become, through the 7th? Fix that, and the partnership is just the output. The same logic applies to every axis. The 4th and the 10th are one function, home and legacy, measured at two ends of the same line. The 3rd and the 9th, learning and meaning. The 6th and the 12th, service and surrender. When you see the axis, the chart stops being a collection of rooms and becomes a set of circuits.
That is a genuinely different frame. Now, the second protocol. You have a theory about the 27 lunar mansions that I want to put in front of you. The nakshatras. You call them neural nets.
The Vedic sky is divided into 27 nakshatras, each with a deity, a symbol, a quality. Most modern astrologers treat them as a zodiac with more pieces. I treat them differently. Think of a neural network. You have nodes, and each node has weights, and when you fire an input through the net, the pattern that comes out is determined by the weights, not by any single node. The 27 nakshatras are nodes. The moon is the input. The moon spends about 2¼ days in each nakshatra, and during that window it activates the pattern stored in that node. But here is the original part. The nodes do not work alone. They are wired to each other through the deities and the symbols. When a planet transits a nakshatra, it does not just occupy it. It fires the whole connected pattern. Take Ashwini, the first mansion, whose deity is the divine physician. Someone with the moon in Ashwini does not just carry a healing theme. They carry a pattern that activates every time another planet touches Ashwini, or its connected mansions. That is pattern completion. That is associative memory. The ancients did not know the word neural network. They built one anyway.
So the nakshatra is not a sign. It is a memory chip. What does that change about how you actually read a transit or a solar return?
Everything, because it changes the unit of analysis. Modern astrology reads the zodiac sign, a 30-degree band. The nakshatra system reads a 13-degree and 20-minute node, with a specific deity and a specific symbol. That is a much finer resolution. When a planet transits your moon's nakshatra, it is not a general theme, it is a direct call to that specific memory pattern. And the deities are the routers. Ashwini routes to healing and speed. Bharani routes to birth, to thresholds. Rohini routes to beauty and the body. When you know the router, you know which channel the transit is broadcasting on. That is why the nakshatra reading is so precise. It is not a zodiac with more pieces. It is a network with more bandwidth.
And that is where the machine enters. The heliacal cycle. A planet rises with the sun, disappears into the glare, reappears. The Babylonians watched this like hawks.
They did, and they encoded something brilliant. A planet has a phase relative to the sun, and that phase changes its behavior completely. Heliacal rising, when the planet first becomes visible before dawn, that is the planet going public. Morning star phase, visible before sunrise, that is the planet as an agent of conscious will. Evening star phase, visible after sunset, the planet as an agent of desire and reflection. Combustion, when the planet is swallowed by the sun's beams, the planet's signal goes underground. And Kazemi, the exact heart of the sun, a few minutes when the planet is inside the sun's core and gets, if you will, root access. This is a state machine. 5 states. Each state has different outputs. The same Venus behaves like a different entity in each phase. The Babylonians wrote omen after omen about these phases, because they knew the phase changed the meaning of the planet's appearance. Nobody teaches this in the sun sign era. It changes every single reading.
So when a planet is combust, within 8 or so degrees of the sun, what is actually happening to that person's life?
The planet's function is firewalled. The conscious mind cannot route to it directly. It still works, but it works as a background process, a subconscious subroutine. I have a client with Mercury combust in the 10th house. Publicly, she is a strategist. Privately, she told me she feels she cannot think clearly in the spotlight. Her Mercury is doing its job, but the sun's firewall means she experiences her own intellect as borrowed, as something that only works when someone else hands her the stage. Kazemi is the release valve. A planet at the heart of the sun gets a window of pure, unimpeded power. Ancient astrologers called Kazemi the planet sitting in the throne of the king, and they reserved it for the most auspicious moments of a coronation. I call it the reboot moment. If you know your Kazemi dates, you can schedule your most important decisions around them. Negotiation, launch, surgery, confession. The throne window is real, and it is computable.
Now the third protocol, and this one is my favorite. Retrograde. Every pop astrology article tells you retrograde means things go backward. You disagree, publicly and loudly.
Backward is a visual illusion. The planet never moves backward. What actually happens is recursion. The planet enters a loop, revisits degrees it already passed, and iterates on them. In computer science, recursion is when a function calls itself to solve a smaller version of the same problem. That is exactly what a retrograde period is. The universe calls the function again, with the same coordinates, and says, solve this at a deeper level. The degrees the planet retraces are the nodes of the loop, and those nodes are the exact places where your life will iterate. So when Mercury stations retrograde at 20 degrees of your 10th house, do not cancel your meetings. Audit your career function at 20 degrees. The first pass was the draft. The retrograde pass is the revision. The direct pass is the release. And there is a modern layer here. The planet's loop is bounded by the station points, and those stations are where the recursion is deepest. If you track what actually surfaces at each station, you will see the pattern. The same conversation, the same type of decision, the same door. The retrograde is not breaking things. It is refactoring them.
And what about the shadow period, the days before and after the retrograde? You treat that differently too.
The shadow is the compile time. Before the planet stations retrograde, it enters the zone it will revisit, and the compiler starts gathering the unresolved material. That is why things get noisy in the shadow. The function is loading its own history. And after the retrograde ends, the planet transits the shadow zone again on the way out, and that is the release build, the final pass where the refactor either holds or collapses. So the full cycle has 5 phases. Shadow in, station retrograde, the retrograde arc, station direct, shadow out. 5 phases. Most people only hear about 3, and they usually only hear the panic version. If you map your life events to those 5 phases once, you will never fear a retrograde again. You will schedule by it.
Then the timing layer. You have a theory you call the 2 clocks. Ancient profections on one hand, Vedic dasha on the other. Most people treat them as rival systems.
They are not rivals. They are different resolutions of the same clock. The profection year advances 1 house per birthday, around the whole sign wheel. That is your micro-scheduler. It tells you which domain of life is in season this year. The Vedic dasha system runs much longer arcs, years to decades, and it is the macro-scheduler. It tells you which planet is the executive in charge of this entire era of your life. Here is the original synthesis. Read them as nested loops. The dasha is the outer loop. The profection year is the inner loop. Every profection year that falls inside a dasha period amplifies that dasha planet's themes. When your current profection house is ruled by your dasha lord, that is a power year, not by accident, but by architecture. Imagine a Jupiter dasha running while your profection year lands in the 9th. Jupiter rules the 9th. That year, the macro and the micro are singing the same note. Meaning, travel, teaching, law, everything Jupiter touches gets a multiplier. The ancients had both clocks on the wall. They never confused them. Modern astrology forgot there were 2.
And that brings us to the architecture itself. Whole sign houses. You insist on them. Why?
Because whole sign houses are the only house system where the sign and the house are the same unit. The ascendant sign is house 1, in full. The next sign is house 2, in full. 12 signs, 12 houses, no slicing. That is how Hellenistic astrologers read. That is how the Vedic tradition reads. When you use a quadrant system, you slice signs and you create what I call phantom boundaries, edges that exist in the math but not in the experience. The person does not change at 23 degrees of the sign. They change at the sign boundary. Whole sign is not simpler. It is more honest. And here is the modern layer. Treat each whole sign house as an experiential domain with its own rules of physics. The first house is the observer. The chart is a measurement, and the ascendant is the observer who collapses the measurement into lived experience. I am using quantum language on purpose. Because a chart is not a prediction. A chart is a wave function. It becomes a life when the observer, the first house, the person themselves, walks through it. The houses are not boxes. They are phases of a single experience, and the whole sign keeps the phases clean.
The 4th protocol, then. Antischa. Most astrologers have never heard of it. You call it the solar cipher.
Antischa is the mirror of the solstices. Every sign has a mirror sign across the 0 degrees of Cancer and Capricorn. Aries mirrors Pisces. Taurus mirrors Aquarius. Gemini mirrors Capricorn. Cancer mirrors Sagittarius. Leo mirrors Scorpio. Virgo mirrors Libra. A point at 10 degrees Aries has its antishone at 20 degrees Pisces. The ancients used this to link planets that were not an aspect at all. Here is my original addition. Treat Antischa as an encryption key. When 2 planets are connected by antishone, they share a secret. They are the same signal written in 2 different alphabets. The Sun at 15 degrees Leo and Saturn at 15 degrees Scorpio, no aspect, no contact. A modern astrologer sees nothing. An ancient astrologer sees the antishone. The Sun's public light is encrypted inside Saturn's structure. That person's authority is built, not given. It only works when the structures are real. And the cipher works the other way too. When you want to know where a planet's power is hidden, find its antishone. The hidden copy is where the planet does its quiet work. That is the solar cipher. And it is in the oldest surviving Greek astrological texts. We threw away a whole encryption layer.
Give me a real-world use of the cipher. Where does Antischa actually win the day?
Synastry, first. Two people with no classical aspects between their suns can still have an Antischa contact, and suddenly the relationship makes sense. They are not aspecting, they are encrypting. Second, transits. A transiting planet hits a degree that is the antishone of a natal planet, and the natal planet's themes fire, even though no classical aspect is happening. Third, and this is the one I love, elections. When you need to pick a time for something delicate, a negotiation, a proposal, a launch, and every classical aspect is hostile, the Antischa window is the quiet door. The ancients used it for exactly that, for the operations that had to happen under the radar. The cipher is not a footnote in the history of astrology. It is a working tool, and it is sitting right there in the oldest texts, waiting for someone to use it again.
So, Amani, if I take all 5 protocols, the mirror axis, the nakshatra nets, the heliacal states, the 2 clocks, the Antischa cipher, how does this change in actual consultation?
It changes everything, and it gives us something modern astrology desperately needs, a protocol. I call it the 5-circuit reading, and it takes about 10 minutes. Circuit 1, the mirror axis. Identify the axis pair that is carrying the client's presenting problem. Circuit 2, the nakshatra scan. Find the moon's nakshatra and the nakshatras of the 2 planets that rule the axis. Those nodes tell you the emotional architecture underneath. Circuit 3, the heliacal state machine. Check every planet's phase relative to the sun. Which planets are public, which are firewalled, which are in reboot. Circuit 4, the 2 clocks. The current dasha and the current profection year. What is in season, what is in era. Circuit 5, the Antischa cipher. Decode the mirror links that connect the axis planets to the rest of the chart. 5 circuits, 10 minutes, and you have a reading that is specific, testable, and ancient. And testable is the word I want to hold on to. Each circuit produces a concrete claim that the client can check against their own experience. That is the difference between an oracle and an engineer. Not fortune-telling, engineering.
Give me a live example. Make one up. Show me the machine working on a real case.
Take a client, Venus retrograde in the 5th house, and the moon in the nakshatra of the deity who rules partnership. Presenting problem, the creative work keeps stalling. Circuit 1, the 5th house mirrors the 11th. So the function is not just creativity, it is creativity becoming community, the work finding its audience. Circuit 2, the moon's nakshatra is emotional memory about belonging. So the real wound is not the work. It is the fear that no one will receive it. Circuit 3, Venus is retrograde, so it is in recursion, and if it is also combust, it is firewalled. The client cannot even see her own talent as real. Circuit 4, say the dasha is Venus, and the profection year is the 5th. Power year, but the power is stuck in the loop. Circuit 5, the Antischa. Venus's antishone lands in the 11th. The audience is already encrypted inside the work. The reading is not, your creativity is broken. The reading is, the work is waiting to be released through the mirror of community, and the release date is the Kazemi window. Every circuit gave a different layer of the same answer, and the client left with a date, not a doom. That is a protocol, not a prophecy.
And that is the thing. You are not telling the client what will happen. You are telling them what function is live, and when the window opens.
Exactly. Astrology at this level is a language for describing timing and function. It is closer to operations research than to fortune-telling. The Babylonians used it to decide when to plant, when to march, when to crown a king. The Indians used it to time everything from marriage to coronation. These were engineers of time. And the reason their systems survived for thousands of years is that they worked often enough to be useful. Not always, that would be magic, not engineering. Often enough to be useful. That is the standard we should hold modern astrology to. And when you hold it to that standard, you stop asking whether the chart is true, and you start asking whether it is useful. Usefulness is the only metric that survives contact with a client.
So how does someone actually practice this, starting tomorrow morning, without a decade of study?
A 10-minute daily protocol. Minute 1, open your chart and name your mirror axis of the day, the axis that is being activated by today's transits. Minute 2, check the moon's nakshatra and one line of its deity. Minute 3, note which planets are combust, which are kazemi, which are retrograde, right now. Minute 4 through 6, look at today's date through the 2 clocks. What dasha, what profection month? Minute 7 through 9, write one sentence about what the day is for, not what will happen, what function is live. Minute 10, act on it. That is it. 10 minutes. You are not predicting the day. You are calibrating to it. And calibration, not prediction, is the real gift of the second sky. Do this for 30 days and you will have a dataset. A personal log of which functions were live, and what actually happened. That dataset is your own empirical astrology. Nobody can argue with your own data.
Amani, this has been extraordinary. Before we go, one last question. You are a systems researcher. Do you actually believe the sky is doing this to us? Or are we doing this to the sky?
Honest answer, I do not know, and I no longer think it is the right question. The right question is, does the language work? For thousands of years, across cultures that never met each other, humans independently built the same machine, 12 houses, planetary cycles, lunar mansions, timing layers. That convergence is a signal. Whatever the mechanism, the pattern is real enough to be useful. The sky is a library. The ancients wrote the catalog. We just forgot how to read it. And in forgetting, we also forgot something about ourselves. That we are pattern-reading animals, that we have always built machines to understand the night. My work is remembering, and I believe yours is too.
Dr. Amani Okoye, thank you for building the machine with us. And to you, listening, the second sky is open. The protocols are in your hands. Calibrate, do not predict. We will see you in the next episode of Celestial Protocols. I am Zuri Adaze, and the sky is not above you. It is in the architecture of your choices.